That one glorious word represents more than just the geography between the Sabine and the Rio Grande. It represents a unique idea and way of life. A life of rugged individualism, proud self-reliance, gritty toughness, and fierce independence. That is what made Texas, and that is what will save her again. Howdy, folks. Sam Houston here. I want to thank you for tuning into the Feed Bandit podcast. Feed Bandit is the Texas first outdoors brand built by rabid Texans, for rabid Texans, and all those who aim to be one someday. We unapologetically promote the ideals that shape our Texas pride and Texas first patriotism through our love of hunting, the outdoors, and the gear and apparel we create. Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Check us out at feedbandit.com. And to repeat that great rallying cry from a former colleague of mine, liberty or death. Now, enough of my talking. Here are a couple of bandits that love Texas as much as I do. Enjoy.
Howdy, friend. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast. Jimmy back with you. And on this one, we're just going to continue our county series. We started this a few episodes back where we decided we were going to go through a quick history of each of the counties in Texas. We started with my home county, Comal. That was an interesting one. Go back and listen to it if you're interested about that, or if you've ever been down here and floated the rivers or anything like that. This one, let's do Collin County. Why Collin County next? Well, that's where old Corn Bandit lives. So let's learn a little bit about old Collin County. Collin County is located in northeastern Texas, 30 miles south of the Red River. McKinney, the county seat, is 34 miles northeast of Dallas. The county center lies at approximately 33 degrees 11 minutes north latitude and 96 degrees 34 minutes west longitude, for all of you that are interested in that information. With the exception of a small portion of its western edge, Collin County's area of 851 square miles lies entirely within the Blackland Prairie region of Texas. The surface of the county is generally level to gently rolling, with an elevation ranging from 450 to 700 feet above sea level. Deep clayey soils over marl and chalk surface the central and western part of the county. Dark loamy alluvial soils, subject to flooding during the rainy season, lie in the eastern section. The western and central portions of the county are drained by the East Fork of the Trinity River. The Elm Fork of the Trinity drains the eastern section. Bodark, oak, elm, ash, pecan, and post oak trees grow along the streams of the county, but not in sufficient quantity for commercial use. Limestone and sand for making cement are the only mineral resources. Temperatures range from an average high of 96 degrees in July to average low of 34 degrees in January. And rainfall averages just under 35 inches a year, and the growing season extends for 237 days. That's pretty long. Branches of the Caddo Indians inhabited the area before the arrival of the first white settlers. Occasional outbreaks of violence occurred between the two groups, but there was no extended period of conflict since the Caddos withdrew from the country by the mid-1850s. The absence of organized Indian resistance, combined with the county's fertile soil and an offer of land grants by the Peters Colony, attracted settlers to the area in the early 1840s. Even with the offer of free land, the estimated population of the county was only 150 when it was demarked from Fannin County on April 3, 1846, and named for Collin McKinney, one of the first settlers of the county and signer of the Texas Declaration of Independence. The original county seat was Buckner. Because this town Buckner was not within 3 miles of the center of the county, however, McKinney became the county seat in 1848. Like the county, McKinney was named for Collin McKinney. The settlement of Collin County can be divided into two phases. The first occurred during the early period of the county's history, from 1840 to 1860. The second phase took place during and after the arrival of the railroads. The settlements established before the construction of rail lines seldom survived if the railroads bypassed them. The majority of the first settlers of Collin County were farmers who lived near streams, where water and wood were easily obtained. They established small, family-operated farms that produced mostly wheat and corn. The slave and cotton economy that characterized most of the South with its large plantations failed to take hold in the county. In part, this was a result of the lack of navigable rivers and railroads to transport cash crops to retail centers. The nearest market was Jefferson, more than 150 miles to the east. In addition, the farmers who settled the county were from Upper South and had little experience in slaveholding or raising cotton. In 1860, only 1,000 of the 9,000 residents were black, and the cotton harvest was of no significance. These factors, plus the influence of James W. Throckmorton, a native of McKinney and Texas state senator, resulted in Collin County's vote against secession, 948 to 405 in 1861. Once Texas joined the Confederacy, however, more than 1,500 residents of the county enlisted in the defense of the South, led by Throckmorton, who rose to the rank of brigadier general. During the war, isolated incidents of violence occurred between Union sympathizers and Confederates, including the participation of an undetermined number of county residents in the events that led to the Great Hanging at Gainesville in 1862. Outbreaks of violence continued after the war. Farmersville, 12 miles east of McKinney, was a site of one of the killings that took place during the Lee-Peacock feud. By 1869, gunplay between the two groups had ended. Except for the military appointments of a few officials in 1867 and 68, the county remained under the control of the Democratic Party during Reconstruction. For the first 30 years of the county's history, farmers had little incentive to take advantage of the fertile soil of the Blackland Prairie, considered the richest agricultural region of Texas. Between 1840s and the 1870s, the lack of transportation facilities, limited markets, and absence of mechanized farm equipment restricted the agricultural production of the county. The arrival of the railroad removed these obstacles and initiated a 50-year period of economic growth. In 1872, the Houston and Texas Central Railway, the first to reach the county, connected McKinney and Plano to tracks that reached as far south as Houston. The Missouri, Kansas, and Texas followed 4 years later and was joined in a decade by the Gulf, Colorado, and Santa Fe. By the mid-1890s, 6 railroads crisscrossed the country, connecting farmers to retail markets throughout Texas. With an outlet for their products, farmers began to cultivate the unplowed fertile land in the eastern and central sections of the county. Between 1870 and 1920, the number of farms and crop production increased dramatically. In 1870, 900 farms valued at just over $3 million produced 674,000 bushels of corn, 4,000 bales of cotton, and 43,000 bushels of wheat. In 1920, the number of farms had increased to 6,000 with a value estimated at well over $84 million. Production of corn had increased to 2.5 million bushels, and cotton to 49,000 bushels, and wheat to 956,000 bushels. By the 1920s, 23 Collin County communities had voted road bonds totaling just under $4 million. New roads, combined with State Highway 289, or Preston Road now, provided county residents with easy access to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco. By the end of the decade, 13 communities had electricity, natural gas, and a telephone exchange. 3 had a population over 1,000. In 1920, the county seat had 6,000 residents, and the population of the county was almost 50,000. During the next 40 years, however, the population declined. The Great Depression, mechanization of farms, and employment opportunities outside the county contributed to the drop in population. Although Collin County did not suffer the extreme hardships that befell other areas of Texas, the number of county farms declined from 6,000 in 1930 to 4,700 in 1940. The value of all crops harvested dropped from just over $10 million to under $6.5 million in the same period. As late as 1940, Collin County's unemployment rate stood at 19%. By the mid-1950s, the economy had recovered, however. The average value of farmland per acre increased from $58 in 1940 to $145 in 1954. Imagine. So corn bandit, how much is that now? And part of this improvement was a result of the efforts of the Texas Research Foundation and the Collin County Soil Conservation District. The Texas Research Foundation, established at Renner in 1944, used the latest scientific discoveries to improve farming practices. In 1946, Collin County Soil Conservation District was formed and planned the construction of 144 flood-retarding structures, including Lake Lavon, to prevent the flooding of thousands of acres of rich bottomland in southeastern Collin County. Farmers also benefited from the electric cooperatives established by the Rural Electrification Administration in the late 30s. The Hunt-Collin County Operative, the Fannin County Electric Cooperative, and the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative combined to bring electricity to the isolated communities of the county. New roads also assisted county farmers. In 1946, the county had 138 miles of paved roads. By the early 1970s, the paved miles had increased to 2,333. The work of the Texas Research Foundation and improved soil conservation practices increased the production of wheat, the county's primary cash crop, from 352,000 bushels in 1949 to 1.2 million bushels in 1959. The mechanization of farming, however, reduced the number of farms from 3,000 in 1950 to 2,000 in 1960. A corresponding decline in the county's population occurred. Historically, the percentage of tenant farmers in Collin County was high. It reached a peak of 74% in 1925. By 1960, that figure had dropped to 38%. Because of the lack of business opportunities outside farming in the county, the majority of those forced to leave farming also left the county. The population decreased from 47,000 in 1940 to 41,000 in 1960. Boy, if they could see what it looks like now. Although agriculture, especially developing dairy farming, continued to be an important factor in the county's economy, by 1980 the introduction of light industry, combined with the growth of the Dallas metropolitan area, produced a successful, diversified economy. In 1980, the number of business establishments totaled 2,000, and 25% of the population was employed in manufacturing and 23% in wholesale and retail trade. Most of the population, 59%, worked outside the county. The economic growth between 1960 and 1980 accompanied a comparable population growth. Plano, 18 miles northeast of Dallas, had the most dramatic increase in all of Collin County towns. In 1960, Plano's population was 3,600 people. 20 years later, it was 72,000 people. Overall, Collin County's population increased from 41,000 in 1960 to 144,000 in 1980. Subsequently, it continued to grow, largely as a result of development of the suburbs in and around Plano. By 1990, the number of residents in Plano increased to 128,000, and the county as a whole grew to 264,000, double what it was a decade before. Many of the new arrivals in the county are from areas outside of Texas. As of 2014, the population was 885,000, and the population of Plano was 278,000. Though before 1970, the voters of the county were staunchly Democratic. From 1972 to 92, they consistently chose Republican presidential candidates, and Republicans also made inroads in state and local races. Other changes have occurred, and due to the large number of young families that have moved to the area, the average age has dropped considerably, and the education levels have been steadily rising. Hispanics, traditionally only a small minority in the county, now outnumber African Americans, and the number of Asians is increasing rapidly. Collin County is well on its way to being one of the most densely populated counties in Texas. The largest city, Plano, overshadows the county seat as the business and educational center of the county. The diversified economy continues to diminish the number of farms. At its 150th anniversary, the county little resembled what was settled in the 1840s. Yeah, I bet all those people back then would be rolling over their graves to see what has happened to Collin County since all it was farms. Just, can you imagine back then? Can you imagine buying up as much of that land as you could when the population was cut in half during the Depression, and just holding on to that land? Man, oh man. That would be nuts. But let's see here. Let's look up real quick. So in the 2020 census, the population of Plano was at 285,285, and of the county, it was up to 1.2 million in the county. So yeah, it's getting up there. A lot of people moving in up there, and very similar to here. I know there's a lot of non-Texans moving into Collin County, so any of you folks up there living in Collin County, or any of you folks listening, I should say, to the podcast living in Collin County, be sure that you spread the word about Texas and educate people about Texas and what it means to be a Texan. And if they come from one of those Yankee or, far left states, tell them to leave all that behind and not bring that crap here. We need to remember the whole shtick, the whole thing about Feed Bandit here is preserving the tradition, protecting the legacy. So that's on me, that's on you, to continue to educate our newfound Texan friends about what all that means. Of course, a way that you can help by doing that is you go to our website. We have a lot of hats out there now that you could wear to spur that conversation, conversation starting hats, if you will. And then stay tuned, because the tariffs and all that stuff threw us off, but we're trying to get back on track to get our shirts ready to go. You can wear those around and show in front of your friends or new neighbors and have them ask what the heck that's all about. It gives you an excuse to talk about it. And then, maybe, just maybe, you might consider buying one for your new buddy, as a welcome gift to the state. So anyway, with that, I want to leave y'all. This is the second edition of the county series. I hope you're enjoying this, learning about them. We got, 252 to go now. So stay tuned, and soon enough, your county will be on the docket. So really appreciate you listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Oh, support your local feed store.
Well, I hope the Bandits gave you an interesting episode that either entertained or educated you. Or better yet, both. Hell, I told them this podcasting thing looks harder to do than defeating Santa Anna. So if you would, please help them out by sharing it with all your like-minded friends to help the Bandits get the word out. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear and apparel to support the cause of Texas. Remember, Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Finally, as I said some time ago on the eve of the great battle, and I vigorously repeat here again, be men, be free men, that your children may bless their father's name. Well, fellow bandit, until next time.